we could not measure longitude. Very important issue if you're a navigator and a sailor. We could not measure longitude until 1760s, 1750s, sometime in the second half of the 18th century. It took the creation of a very precise marine chronometer in order to be able to calculate what your longitude is. Otherwise, in the middle of a stormy night, you could find yourself 300 miles west of where you thought you were and crashing into a coastline. And it wasn't until the second half of the 18th century that it was solved.
Wow.
So it's weird that on ancient maps, copied from even more ancient source maps, there are precise relative longitudes. Second thing is those maps show the world as it looked during the last ice age. And most important, they show Antarctica. Our civilization didn't discover Antarctica until 1820. So if I find a map from 1520 showing Antarctica, where the map maker informs us that he based his map on much older source maps that were falling to pieces and that he that will fall completely apart, he's preserved the information in those maps on his maps. He's copying from older, and there is Antarctica. Yeah, we call it Antarctica. They used to call it Terra Australis, the southern land. It's one of those great, you see, there's Antarctica. That's the Orontes Finis.
To the right?
There's South Africa, and there's Antarctica, and there's the tip of South America, almost touching Antarctica. It's a bit bigger than it is today, but it would have been like that during the last ice age. That's a map from 1531. It's an anomaly that it's sitting there, and it's not good enough to say that those map makers just wanted to balance the world, so they put a fantasy continent there, which later to actually be there.
Right.
That's roughly what they're saying now. So that suggests to me a culture that was capable of exploring and mapping the Earth during the last ice age. It's ancient knowledge of precession, which, again, our culture attributes to the Greeks, roughly between 300 BC and 100 BC. They're supposed to have been the discoverers of precession. Precession is very hard to observe. In a single lifetime, it's a fraction of an inch on the horizon, the change. So you have to keep records over long periods of time. You have to have a system that preserves those records and passes them down.
So why is this so important? So in my opinion, this all comes back to Atlantis, or as I call it, Tantal, because there's just so many things that the ancients knew that prove that there was knowledge. This is like the residual knowledge that's left over. Some things people no longer really understand, like astronomy versus astrology. There is so much truth in the astrology, but a lot of it has, let's say, changed over time and become something else, a way of fortune telling, which I don't think it was ever supposed to be. But anyway, so I keep coming back to all these things that Graham Hancock says, because what he's doing is saying, finding all this evidence that the dream regressions that I've had really have some substance to them, and it's good for me to know that anyway.